In this video, I'm going to go over how we're able to get and track a 5.5x return on ad spend for lead gen for a high ticket premium home improvement service that we work with using Google Ads, using Meta Ads, using Google Sheets, Zapier, and Jobber as their CRM. How we're able to generate these leads, track them all the way through the funnel, and have a nice clean dashboard that shows a true return on ad spend from each platform. They can actually see their quote rate or their set rate, as some people call it, their close rate on their quotes, cost per quote sent, cost per quote approved, all of these awesome metrics that sometimes agencies have a difficult time actually showing the client. And like I said, their CRM is using Jobber. So if you've ever tried to do any offline conversion tracking with Jobber, you probably know there are lots of limitations on how you can send data into the platform. So using Jobber as a central source of truth for ad attribution is quite difficult. So that's why we've layered in Google Sheets here as well. And I'm going to show you exactly kind of how we do that. So I'm not going to cover any phone call stuff. I have a full video on that already. But basically what happens is leads come to the website, they fill out a form to get a quote. We use Zapier to then create a new client inside of Jobber. At the same time, that lead is added to a Google Sheet in a row with all the columns, name, email, phone number, all of this stuff. We also have UTMs in there as a backup. But also, anyone that fills out this form, it has to be from an ad because it's a non-indexed page that only shows up in ads. It's like a hidden landing page that we only use for ads. So we know anything that is going into this sheet is from ads. So after those leads are created in Jobber, a text is sent to the sales team so they can follow up. And then what happens is that lead is just kind of hanging out in Jobber, right? While the sales team is doing their thing. And once the sales team actually sets the lead and they send a quote to them, what happens is Zapier is looking for a status change on that client. And once the status changes in Jobber, it uses the lookup function to look up that lead in the Google Sheet and update the column that shows their quote status to quote pending or quote approved, which I'll get to in a sec. And then it updates another column with the value of that quote. So once the quote is approved or not, if it's closed lost or it needs changes, that status updates in the Google Sheet as well, depending on what happens in Jobber. And then that info is also sent to Meta as an offline conversion. And then that's why we're using Google Sheets as the main source of truth for everything that is basically happening in Jobber. Because like I said, there are lots of limitations on the data that you can send into Jobber and how that is automated. So leads come through the website, they go to Jobber, they go to a sheet, and then we basically match up what happens in Jobber to Google Sheets and have built out this dashboard where they can see their ROAS and a bunch of other metrics as well. So now I just want to show you, this is what their Meta ad account looked like before. It was quite a mess. They had, so 2 campaigns are selected here, and they had like 30 ad sets inside of these campaigns that had all been running simultaneously, competing against each other, audience overlap. Pretty cheap leads though, but the main feedback was that these leads were really bad quality. And our feedback was, okay, we can see why, because they're using a meta lead form that didn't ask any questions other than the person's information. And that everything was just so fragmented. It's not up to best practices at all and our philosophy with meta ads. So what we did is we simplified everything. And right now, what we've narrowed it down to is one campaign. It's using ad set budgets, and that is because we have 2 ad sets for 2 different cities that they serve. The only difference in these ad sets is the geo-targeting. We're using broad, Advantage Plus audience, Advantage Plus placements, no interest targeting, no demographics. Each ad set has, give or take, 3 active ads at any time. And then our process for testing new ads is simple as well. We test new ads directly inside these ad sets. So what we'll do is we'll duplicate an active ad and we'll change out the media or the headline or whatever we're testing. We will turn that ad on. It's running in parallel, and pretty quickly we can see whether or not it's a winner. If it's outperformed any of the currently active ads, we will keep it on and turn off anything that has performed worse than that, and we kind of keep iterating on top of that process. So super simple, right? One campaign, two ad sets, a handful of active ads running at any given time, and then we're testing new things directly inside these ad sets. So this is a screenshot of what the account looks like now. And in the beginning stages with this client, we did test some other stuff just to basically prove our hypothesis that consistently remains true, that just broad Advantage Plus seems to work very well. And these are other things we tested. You can see we barely spent any money. Very quickly, we were able to determine that those weren't going to work. And this is what's working now. And you can see our cost per lead also like quadrupled compared to what they were paying before. But the client is pretty stoked about that happening because the leads are now super qualified. We can see exactly how many they're quoting, their percentages on their quote rates, and their full ROAS, which they were never actually able to see before. So that's what we do at Encipher. That's what my agency does, is we build out ad systems that are tracked basically from start to finish for high spending clients on Meta and Google. And we show you your ROAS. So if this is something you want to talk about, if you have a system like this, you do lead gen, you're a service-based business, and you're spending a pretty significant amount on Google or Meta ads, we would love to chat with you and see if we could build out something like this for you. So go to our website, book a call, send me a message wherever you see this video. You'll know how to contact me. So take care. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, drop a comment. Cheers.